Okay, so by now you should know how to find equivalent fractions when you multiply. And that's when you have a fraction. Let me do 5/10. And by multiplying to get equivalent fractions, you just multiply by the same number for your numerator and denominator. So if I decided to do 2 and then times 2 here, I would get 10/20. It's easy, right? But another way you can find equivalent fraction is by dividing. And this is actually a way I want you guys to learn too, because it's super important to know when to divide and when to multiply. So to find equivalent fractions by dividing, they call it simplifying fractions. Okay? So instead of saying, oh, I'm going to find an equivalent fraction by dividing, you just say, I'm going to simplify my fraction. So let me give you an example here. I already chose the color. I'm going to give you 10/15. You still can find an equivalent fraction when you multiply. Okay, I can multiply by 2 for numerator and denominator, and that will give me 20/30. I can still do that. But for dividing, we can, instead of multiplying the same number, we're just going to be dividing the same number, okay? And this is how I'm going to show you right now how to figure out what number you need to multiply by, or divide by. Sorry, dividing, because we're simplifying. Okay, so first, and this is for all problems, you need to make a factor t of your numerator. This is my numerator, and your denominator. And this is how you do it. You just get the numerator number, you're going to write it on the top, and make a giant T under it. This is a factor T, okay? I'm going to write my 15 over here and do the same thing. Why is it so messy? Okay. So I have 10 and 15 right here. I'm going to go to my 10, and when you think of factors, you got to think of the numbers you multiply together to get the top one, the one at the very top right here, on top of your T, okay? So let's work this through together. What two numbers do you have to multiply to get 10? What two numbers can you multiply to get 10? We have 1 times 10, right? So I'm going to write 1 on one side and 10 on the other, okay? What other numbers? We have 5 and 2. And if you say 2 times 5, it's the same thing. I still have both numbers here. And those are all the numbers I can multiply together to get 10, okay? Those are all my factors. Now I go to 15. What two numbers can I multiply together to get 15? Well, I have 1 and 15, right? 1 times 15 equals 15. And I also have 3 times 5, okay? So your first step is to make a factor T with your numerator and denominator. And we just did that, okay? So now your next step is to look at both lists. So we have our 10 list and our 15 list. Find the numbers that they both have. So a number they both have in each list. So they both have number 1, right? So I'm going to circle number 1. And they also both have number 5. Okay? Now, these are the numbers we can divide by. So these are our options we can divide by. You're going to choose the number that's the biggest. So which one is bigger, 1 or 5? We're going to choose 5. And this is the number we're going to divide each by, our numerator and denominator by. Same thing like we had to multiply by the same number, we got to divide by the same number. And we found out they both have the number 5, so we're going to divide by 5. And you might be thinking, oh, I don't know division. Well, we just made our list, so you know how to divide. So what's 10 divided by 5? That should give me the answer right here, which is 2. Okay? And then what's 15 divided by 5, which is 3. And we just simplified our fraction, and this is still an equivalent fraction to 10/15. Okay? let's do it on some of your homework problems that you have. So let's start off with number 2 in your homework problem for day 4. Number 2, we have 9/18. What's the first thing we do? We got to make our factor t's of the number 9 and 18, okay? Because that's our numerator and denominator. So I'm going to write my 9 and write a t under it. And I'm going to write my 18 and write my t under that, okay? And then you find the numbers that you can multiply to get 9, and then the numbers you can multiply to get 18. So what numbers can you multiply to get 9? You get 1 and 9, right? And then 3 times 3, okay? Now we go to 18. Which two numbers can you multiply? You can multiply 1 times 18 to get 18. You can multiply 9 times 2. You can also do 6 times 3. So these are all the numbers for 18, and these are all the numbers for 19. Your next step is to look at each list and find all the numbers they have in common. So the numbers that show up in both lists. So 1 shows up in this one and this one. So I'm going to circle it. We have 3 is showing up. And we have 9 showing up. Okay? So we can choose to divide by 1, 9, and 3. Okay, because that's what shows up in both. And remember, if you have more than one choice, you got to choose the biggest number. Out of these 3 numbers that we circled, 9 is the biggest number, so I'm going to divide top and bottom, the numerator and denominator, by 9. Okay? And I'm going to write it out so I don't get confused. Okay. Now you got to think, what's 9 divided by 9? And that should give you 1. And then 18 divided by 9 should give you 2. So 9/18 is equivalent to 1/2. Okay? You just got to remember the steps. And if you need to you can review this video, rewatch this video. Okay? I'm going to go over another problem. Let's do number 8. Okay? What's the first thing we do? We write a factor t of our numerator and our denominator. So we have a factor t of numerator here and our denominator here. Okay? And then we start figuring out which 2 numbers we can multiply to get the number on the very top of that t. So which 2 numbers can I multiply to get 18? 1 and 18, right? That's always 1. We also have 2 times 9. And then we also have 3 times 6 for 18. Okay? What's 2 numbers we can multiply to get 24? Well, we have 1 times 24. We also have 8 times 3. And we also have 6 times 4. Our next step, if you guys can remember, is how we have to circle all the ones they both have in common. So they both have 1. So I'm going to circle 1. I'm going to check. They have 3 in common. And if you look one more time, they also have 6 in common. Those are the numbers I can divide my fraction by, okay? Because those are the numbers they both have. So now I got to choose which one am I going to choose to divide by? You choose the biggest number to divide by. So I'm going to divide by 6 because that's the biggest number they both have. And then 18 divided by 6, 18 divided by 6 gives me 3. And then 24 divided by 6 gives me 4. Okay? And this is how you simplify fractions. It just needs, let me write this out for you. These are the big steps you need to do. First thing you need to do is write your factor t's for your numerator and denominator. And you do this to figure out what numbers they can be divided by, right? Factor t. Okay. When you do your factor t, you're going to write down all the numbers they can be multiplied by, and then you're going to do it for both numbers. And then your second job is to circle all the ones they both have in common. Circle the ones they both have. And it's like multiplying fractions. You can't choose two different numbers to multiply by, and you can't choose two different numbers to divide by. They have to be the same number. And then you just divide by that number, and that's how you get your answer. Okay? But it's important to do your factor t first, find out what they can be divided by, and then circle the ones they have in common and choose the biggest one to divide by. Okay? If you guys have any questions, please have your parents message me and I'll help you through the phone.